Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk about the year 2025. What are the five major developments that have impacted the geopolitics and structure of global politics and the world order? That's the question I'm trying to answer in this conversation. What were the five most important events or developments or changes that are impacting the global order? But before that, if you have not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon so that you get notifications about future videos, and don't forget to share this with your socio-political network. And let me also wish you all in advance a very happy and prosperous 2026. May you achieve all your dreams and your hopes in that year. May it be genocide-free, may it be free of wars, and I hope that there is more peace and more prosperity in this world as we go forward. So the first and the most important event clearly was Donald Trump's second term and his new foreign policy, which is completely mercantilist driven primarily by tariffs. He's using tariffs as a policy instrument to achieve anything that he wishes to achieve. So this particular development by the United States has completely disrupted global politics, global order, and I think that it is clearly the most impactful thing, and I'm sure no one will disagree with me. They may have qualitative judgments on it, but they will definitely acknowledge that the biggest impact on the global order, on world politics, and the balance of power this year has been Donald Trump's tariffs regime, which has completely overturned the global economy in many ways. What it has done in many ways is reordered and has put a lot of pressure on the global supply chains. Countries like India, which thought that they were close allies of the United States, have been straddled with the highest tariffs, along with Brazil, which is over 50%. So they don't know how they stand with the US. Brazil is wondering if is it coincidental that two prominent members of BRICS are experiencing the highest levies of tariffs, or what. So there is all this perception as to what is driving Donald Trump's tariffs regime. They disagree with him. Even American economists feel that it's going to have a deleterious impact on America's economy. The primary reason for this are essentially, I think, twofold. Donald Trump wishes to reindustrialize America. He feels that the globalization and the free trade regimes that dominated in the past have essentially reduced America's capacity to manufacture. And as a result of that, great jobs have been lost to China and to other parts of the world. So he's trying to not only reindustrialize America, but also bring back jobs, which I think he's going to fail there. Because even if jobs do come back to the United States, if he forces countries to invest in the US, as he has compelled and countries have agreed, the Gulf countries have agreed to invest trillions of dollars. Japan is committed to investing about $550 billion. So is South Korea, so is Europe. So overall, $2 or $3 trillion worth of investments have been committed. So if they do come into the United States, it's not necessary that they would go into manufacturing. And even if they went into manufacturing, the manufacturing will be AI and robotic. So it will be driven by automation and not necessarily create jobs that Americans used to enjoy in the 1970s and 80s. So that has this pursuit of some kind of reindustrialization of the United States has really upset the global economy. Some of the most advanced economies are service economies, like the British economy, for example. So America trying to reverse the developmental cycle is really a very tall order, and it will lead to isolation and definitely shrinkage in the global economy as well as in the United States. It will also lead to inflation. So we will see what happens. I think the long-term impact of these tariffs is going to be very profound. And while the US economy has shown great resilience so far, I don't know how long it can experience that. Already, Americans are saying nearly 70% of Americans are very unhappy with the state of the US economy. So that's the number one impact. I think it has impacted a lot of countries. It is going to impact the growth rates of many countries, and it's definitely going to impact the global economy. The second big geopolitical development was all the things that Donald Trump is doing for Israel. And this Israel first aspect of Donald Trump's foreign policy, in which he has given Netanyahu whatever he wants, to the extent of putting pressure on the Israeli president to pardon him for all the crimes he has committed and is being prosecuted for. But the biggest one is the attack on Iran's nuclear capabilities, and essentially the combined effort of Western democracies, Israel, US, Canada, Germany, and UK, along with their Arab allies, particularly Jordan, in weakening Iran. While weakening Iran definitely makes Israel feel more secure, it has also done something which is very interesting, which is not in the long-term interest of the United States. If we assume that achieving some kind of an Abrahamic Accord and integration of Israel into the Middle East is a US goal, which I am not very sure if it is. But anyway, it is an Israeli goal to be treated as a normal Middle Eastern country. But the weakening of Iran essentially eliminates the threat that countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and others in the Gulf were sensitive to. They were afraid of Iran, and as a result, they were rushing for US support and security guarantees. And the US and the price of security guarantees from the US is normalization with Israel. The Arab countries are not normalizing with Israel because they love Israel or want to normalize their relations with Israel and abandon the Palestinian cause. This is the price that they have to pay in order to normalize relations, in order to get US security guarantees. Look, during this entire war that Israel has fought since October 7th, 2 years ago, and the massive exchanges it has had with Yemen and Iran and Lebanon, where have other Abrahamic Accord partners been, like Sudan and Morocco and Bahrain? Or even for that matter, UAE. UAE continues to trade with Israel and is contributing something to the Gaza peace process, but those other three Abrahamic countries have done nothing for Israel. All they did was, okay, they wanted the US, like for example, in the case of Morocco, it wanted the United States to recognize its sovereignty over Western Sahara. And so the US said, yes, we will give you this. In exchange, please sign the Abrahamic Accords. The Moroccans did that, and then they disappeared from the scene. So I think that now that Iran is weaker and Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries do not feel the threat of Iran as they don't see the danger as imminent as they did, say, a couple of years ago when Hezbollah was strong, when other Iranian militias and Houthis were strong, and Iran itself was strong enough. So the weakening of Iran has given strategic autonomy to Saudi Arabia and others. So in spite of all the pressure that Donald Trump put on Saudis, they have not signed the Abraham Accords, nor have they normalized their relations with Israel. So I think Donald Trump's Israel first foreign policy is not really achieving the goals that it is trying to pursue. More or less, now the whole world has turned against Israel, except the United States. Even allies in Europe are recognizing the Palestinian state and are expelling Israel from many international forums. So overall, you could say that the Israel first foreign policy is not failing. There are some symbolic achievements like Kazakhstan joining the Abraham Accords. But in terms of the shifting of balance of power in the Middle East, it is very clear that we have a new hegemon in the Middle East, and that is Israel. So yes, America has helped replace Iran with Israel as the regional hegemon. And now the Arabs have to live under Israeli hegemony. And that is the biggest geopolitical shift that I see that has taken place in 2025. The third major development is the inadvertent rise of China. If you remember, the global war on terror entailed two major wars: America's invasion of Afghanistan and American invasion of Iraq. And these two invasions of the neighbors of Iran indirectly increased Iran's influence internationally and made it more powerful. So Iran had more influence in the Middle East without essentially any escalation in state capabilities. So just as that has happened, Donald Trump's foreign policy, he's inadvertently raised the stature of China to such an extent that Donald Trump himself is talking about G2, and he's undermining G20 and G7. And suddenly, nobody sees the world as a multipolar world. People are asking, have we already entered an era of bipolarity? The manner in which China has stood up to America, everybody, especially the Europeans and the Indians, have all basically buckled to America under its pressures, especially the tariff pressures, especially East Asian nations like Japan and South Korea have basically been treated like doormats by Donald Trump, and he treats Europe as essentially a colony these days. But the only state that has really pushed back against the US has been China. Not only has China pushed back, but China has shown that it has leverage, especially in the area of rare earth minerals and magnets, etc. China has increased its capacity. It is putting pressure, military pressure, and other economic pressures on American allies in the region, like Philippines and Japan. And so what has happened is that China has now emerged as a much more powerful state. And with Russia becoming weaker and weaker, China now has three nuclear powers, three nuclear powers that are its client states: Russia, Pakistan, and North Korea. So China has become far more powerful as a result of Donald Trump's foreign policies. China does not wish to be an alternate power, I think. I recently visited China last month and spoke with some geopolitical experts there. And one thing that I found interesting was that some of the scholars in China feel that China does not know how to act as a great power. It is learning how to act as a great power. It still continues to think of itself as a developing country, as a third world country. It fears colonization and imperialism from the West. And the fact that it is now the second biggest economy and a major power, a peer competitor to the United States, that has not fully dawned on China. So we will see what happens, but I think that by essentially weakening the Western alliance and weakening the Quad, Donald Trump has essentially elevated China the same way George W. Bush had made Iran more powerful by weakening the threats that Iran was experiencing from Iraq and Afghanistan. So I think the third development in geopolitics is the greater stature of China. Even India, on experiencing some negative vibes from the US, rushed to normalize relations with China and Russia. And similarly, more and more countries are turning towards China to cope with the aggression, the indecisiveness, the whimsical policies that are coming out of Washington. So Beijing now looks as a stabilizer of world politics, and the United States as the disruptor. So Washington is the disruptor, Beijing is the stabilizer, and that has been the biggest shift that has taken place in 2025. The fourth development, I think, and which could have a long-term impact on US foreign policy as well as regional dynamics in Eurasia, in Europe, is the growing divide between the US and Europe. A lot of people in Europe see the new national security strategy statement that was issued last month by the Trump administration as essentially that America has filed divorce papers with the US. The US clearly does not see Europe as an ally at the moment, and their commitment to while they continue to state that they will protect and defend Europe and fulfill their obligations to Article 5 of NATO, the manner in which Donald Trump has completely reversed American foreign policy with regards to Ukraine. Europeans see America standing more closely with Putin and Russia than with Zelensky and Ukraine. In fact, the manner in which Donald Trump treated Zelensky in his office is like a symbolic, shall we say, it's like an artistic expression or portrayal of where the US commitment to Europe lies, which is very weak. And then this talk of the erasure of Europe and its civilizational decline, all of these discussions very clearly shows that the US does not essentially care about Europe anymore. And what it does is, who knows, it may propel Europe to become a more powerful player to balance the US. But I don't see that. And the Europeans who continue to think that they can sway Donald Trump essentially have, unlike India, not worked hard enough to improve their relations with China. So they're basically stuck between these two powerhouses, between China and the US. So they're going to suffer from the military, shall we say, deficit with regards to China and the US. They are not even able to cope with Russia. But economically, they are also going to suffer from the US, whose economy seems to be doing phenomenally well. And if the future is going to be determined by artificial intelligence, then the US is still leading the world, followed closely by China in the arena of artificial intelligence. So Europeans are in a really between a rock and a hard place, the US and China. The fifth issue is basically the phenomena of artificial intelligence and its geopolitical and geoeconomic consequences. So there are two things that are going on before artificial intelligence becomes suddenly so big. It's primarily big because the US has now basically placed all its eggs in the AI basket. And we see significant developments in AI and its economic consequences. But what is also important is that because of the rise of China and the effort by the US and Europe to pressure and undermine China's growth, we saw the delinking and essentially de-risking of the global economy, which was basically once the Europeans and the US realized that China was the dominant economic force in the world today, they are undermining the very economy which made China so powerful. So this whole exercise of de-risking and delinking from the supply chain and reducing China's manufacturing dominance. China now manufactures or has the capacity to manufacture 50% of the global manufacturing capacity. So to undermine that, they have been adopting various strategies, friendshoring, and then nearshoring and de-risking and dealing. All of this has disrupted the global economy, and that is also causing a lot of disruption. People can see the chaos, but no one can see what's at the end of the tunnel. So they know they're going into a tunnel where there's going to be a lot of changes taking place, and you don't know what is on the other side. And that uncertainty has made it very difficult for countries to develop economic policies or even their foreign policy. So I think that is my fifth, this churn, this uncertainty with regards to global supply chains, the realignments that are taking place. Is NATO still a major force in global politics? Are Russia and India genuinely still allied together? Is Russia now essentially a client state of China? Why is Pakistan rising? What is going to happen in the Middle East with the decline of Iran? All of these questions, we don't really have clear answers to it. And I think that is the fifth biggest, this uncertainty with very serious consequences is the fifth driver of geopolitics in 2025 and will continue in 2026. So I think these are the five major developments which have dominated and shaped global geopolitics in the year. Number one, Trump's tariffs. Number two, Trump's Israel first foreign policy in the Middle East. Number three, the rise of China. Number four, the weakening of US-Europe ties. And number five, the disruption in the global supply chain and the global economy. So thank you for watching Conversations, and please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Like this video, press the bell icon, share this video with your social political network. And I am absolutely delighted and grateful to all the support that you have given to us. And so thank you very much, and wishing you all a very, very happy